Judge was a pretty interesting read, but I wouldn't consider it better than Doubt. So how will Secret, the third series in the franchise, compare to the others? Well, according to fans, definitely not even close to being as good as the first two. So today we're going to be diving into the entire story of Secret and find out why it's so hated on. So without further ado, let's get on with Secret. The series begins with one of the students, Ozu, roughing up their counselor, Mitomo, after Mitomo accuses one of the students in class of being a murderer. However, Mitomo quickly clears it up, explaining that out of the 6 classmates, there are actually 3 murderers. He has gathered all 6 of them for their final session regarding both an accident and a suicide that happened recently. Mitomo states that he has evidence proving the incident wasn't an accident at all. In fact, he knows exactly who the 3 guilty students are, and he gives the group 1 week to figure it out themselves. As Mitomo leaves the classroom, the students begin to separate, already not trusting one another. We then cut to a flashback 4 hours earlier. Sanada, one of the 6 students, and Ozu meet up just 5 days after Ozu's accident. Together they walk to the front of the school where news media are covering the 1-month memorial of the school bus crash. 6 students survived, but in the aftermath, another student ended up ending his own life from the shock. The crash itself killed a driver, a teacher, and 31 students. Suddenly, one of the survivors, Rika, is swarmed by reporters, who bombard her with questions asking if the accident will cause her to retire from show business. Before she can answer, Mitomo steps in, redirecting the attention away from her. Ozu and Sanada praise him for being there and for helping them through their sessions, but Mitomo simply tells them to gather the remaining survivors for their last session. We then return to the present where Sanada meets with Rika. She asks him if he thinks the accident was intentional. Sanada replies that if the accident hadn't happened, their friend Futami would still be alive. Later, when Sanada returns home, he collapses on the couch, recalling the crash. As he drifts into thought, he tells himself that he has just killed again. And then the scene pans over to reveal the infamous rabbit mask. And that was just the first chapter, and already I do like the switch in the concept, the fact that they're not locked in like one setting and that there might be a connection to the 2 other series which was lacking in the Judge story. We then cut to Ozu praying at a shrine for a student who had lost her life in the accident. In a flashback to the crash, Ozu had switched seats with a student named Kisaragi because one of the survivors, Amano, was carsick. They agreed to switch seats and continue talking. Ozu asked Amando if he had taken the medication that their teacher had given him, and Amano replied that he had. Meanwhile, Sanada and Ozu talk about Futami, who didn't feel well and skipped the field trip entirely. Sanada mentioned that he could tell the bus was swerving a lot, but he wasn't sure if it was just the road or the bus itself. After a while, Ozu went to check on the driver, but at the same time, a few students checked on the teacher who was fast asleep with a magazine on his face. When Ozu reached the driver, he found them completely asleep. Ozu screamed for everyone to grab on just as the bus crashed into a railing and then flipped over. When Ozu regained consciousness, he saw Rika injured, but Kisaragi and many other students were already dead. Back in the present, Ozu is in the infirmary looking for Sanada or Mitomo, but neither of them are there. Instead, he notices a folder on Mitomo's desk recalling the incident. The report states that the crash killed the driver, the teacher, and the students seated on the left side of the bus, while the remaining casualties were caused by the fire and smoke inside the bus. Ozu searches to see if Mitomo has any of the evidence in his desk, but suddenly, Amano walks in. Amano says that he doesn't fully believe Mitomo's claims, and Ozu admits that he feels the same. However, Ozu insists that he doesn't think any of them are killers. Ozu recalls waking up in the wreckage of the bus and seeing a figure standing shocked still in the middle of the aisle, hands completely covered in blood. At the time he hadn't thought much of it, but now, Amano suggests that if what Ozu saw was real, then maybe someone used the accident as an opportunity to commit murder. We cut to Rika, who is frustrated about being cut and replaced from her new movie and now seemingly losing fans because of the accident. Mitomo asks if he could walk her to class, and as they walk, Rika asks why Mitomo seems so calm knowing that there are 3 murderers at school. She presses even further, asking why he hasn't even gone to the police instead of forcing them to play out this 1-week nonsense, begging him to just end it already. Mitomo replies that he just can't do it. Rika then asks one last question: if one of the murderers is responsible for the bus accident. Mitomo responds that it's hard to say, but if that were the case, then what would they do about it? After class, Rika goes up to the roof where she meets with another survivor, Kunikita. Kunikita says that she hates being pitied because of the accident, and just wanted some alone time on the roof. She gives Rika some fan letters that had been mistakenly delivered to her. While Rika begins to warm up to her, Kunikita abruptly says that she just won't talk to her again until they find out who the murderers are. Suddenly, the two hear a scream from downstairs. They rush down and run into Sanada, who says that the screams came from their old classroom. They head over and find a crowd gathering outside, including Amano and the last survivor, Shima. Inside the classroom, the chalkboard is covered in blood with the words, "I know your sins," scrawled across it. In front of it lies an unconscious Ozu. Mitomo takes Ozu to the hospital while the others head home. The group begins to discuss who could have done it. They wonder if maybe somebody overheard Amano and Ozu's earlier conversation. Sanada mentions that he saw Ozu earlier looking as though he was texting somebody, possibly arranging a meeting. Amano suggests that they should search for Ozu's cell phone, as it could reveal who attacked them and who's behind all of this. A teacher then informs them that Ozu is still alive, but suffered a severe blow to the head and is uncertain when he will wake up. Since they can't get any answers from him, the group decides to just go home. We then cut to a mysterious figure walking home, receiving an email from Ozu. The email says that this person saw everything this mysterious person did, and that tomorrow, he plans to reveal their secret. However, if the person doesn't want everyone to find out, then they must kill Mitomo. The figure then goes to the art room and digs through a box of items, pulling out the baseball bat used to knock out Ozu, as well as the infamous rabbit mask. The person puts on the mask and then heads towards the infirmary with the bat. Spotting someone approaching the infirmary, he then swings, assuming that is Mitomo, but the masked figure is quickly overpowered and then pinned down by Sanada. Sanada rips off the rabbit mask, revealing one of the 6 survivors, Shima. Sanada demands to know if Shima was the one who knocked out Ozu, but Shima replies that it wasn't his fault, saying that if only he hadn't said that. We flash back to the bus. Shima is being bullied by 2 classmates who force him to fetch them coffee. Realizing there's no more left, Shima is saved when a girl named Tono hands him the last can. The bullies catch on, mocking Shima and taunting him, saying that they'll steal Tono away from him. Then, the bus crashes. Shima wakes up among the wreckage. He spots Tono and he goes to save her, but one of the bullies called out to him for help. As Shima tried to help, the bully just kept on talking, sneering that he would just let Shima play the hero and then go after Tono, since it was the only way that someone like Shima could ever get with a girl like her. Shima becomes enraged, and he stops helping him and immediately smashes the bully's head with some rubble, killing him. Back in the present, Shima runs to the rooftop of the school. He explains that he was the one that attacked Ozu because he thought Ozu must have seen him commit the murder. He adds that if he hadn't killed the bully, he might have actually been able to save a lot of people, including Tono. Shima then says that he's tired of carrying this secret. The volume ends with Shima climbing over the rooftop railing and then jumping off. And now that one of the 3 killers is officially revealed, now there's only 4 people that we could choose from. And honestly, my money is on Amano and Kunikita. Amano is because of the little detail that both the driver and the teacher were just fast asleep, while Amano had to take some medication which could have possibly put him to sleep, but instead, maybe he drugged the driver and drugged the teacher. And Kunikiri is because she just seems like the person with like the least screen time, so most likely it's her, just like Shima, how Shima has very little screen time. She might have killed somebody on purpose or maybe by accident, but it would still consider her like one of the murderers. We still don't know who sent the email if Ozu is unconscious, and even though my money is on Mitomo being behind like everything, we still don't know why they have the rabbit mask. But we'll just have to see once we get straight into Volume 2. Volume 2 begins with a flashback to Futami laying sick in bed. His mother walks in to tell him about the bus accident. Later at the funeral service, Futami is approached by Amano, Kunikita, and Shima. They check in to see if he's alright, and Futami assures him that he's fine. Suddenly, the news media swarmed him, asking why he was the only one who skipped the trip. A teacher rushes in and pushes the reporters away. Kunikita tries to comfort Futami, but Shima stops her, telling her that they aren't as close as Futami as Sanada is, and that Sanada should be the one to talk to him. Kunikita slaps Shima across the face, shouting that she already knows that, before running off in tears. Sometime later, Futami and Sanada meet on the rooftop. Futami asks if Sanada saw Tono, and we see a brief flashback of Sanada looming over Tono's body during the accident. Sanada tells Futami no and asks why he wants to know. Futami explains that he and Tono had recently become a couple after talking during lunch breaks. Sanada asks if he's really okay, but Futami says that he's fine, and that Sanada doesn't need to worry about him. A few hours later, Futami falls from the rooftop to his death. We then cut back to the present. Sanada blames himself, saying he failed to save another person, but then notices that Shima landed on a safety net. Later, Shima is arrested by the police. Mitomo appears behind Sanada and tells him that he had asked the school to install those nets after Futami's accident. When the police investigated the crash, they discovered that one of the victims had been repeatedly hit in the head. Believing the culprit was one of the remaining survivors, they sent Mitomo as a counselor to observe and investigate them. He suspected Shima after seeing his reaction when he mentioned the bully's name, so he decided to give him a little push. Sanada, furious, grabs onto Mitomo, but Mitomo drops a bombshell. He says that he didn't actually want the net to work. He says it would have been a lot better if Shima had just died. If the authorities were just going to let Shima off, then Mitomo would rather take the law into his own hands. The next day, students gossip about the incident from the night before. The remaining survivors meet behind the school and Sanada explains everything that happened. He also tells them that Shima had said something before being arrested. When he attacked Ozu, he heard someone running in the hallway. The writing in blood wasn't his doing. He assumed the message was directed at him. Shima also revealed that he received an email from Ozu's phone, and he was certain that it came from one of the survivors. Amano informs the group that Ozu had woken up, saying that if they want to see him, it would be a lot better to visit tomorrow. Sanada suggested they all go together, but nobody responds, except for Kunikida, who scoffs that it's a stupid idea since one of them is obviously the killer. The next day, Sanada is the only one who visited Ozu. He asks Ozu if he truly believes that there are 3 killers and if the bus accident might have been orchestrated by somebody. Ozu turns the question around, asking if Sanada is hiding something from him. Sanada denies it. Ozu then reveals that he saw somebody standing in the middle of the bus during the accident, though the smoke obscured their face. He initially thought that it was Shima, but when the fire broke out, Shima was already gone. The person that he saw was Sanada. Ozu demands to know the truth, and Sanada admits it. He confesses to killing Tono. We flash back to the accident. Ozu and Sanada are trying to rescue as many students as they can when a car battery suddenly explodes, igniting a fire. Sanada gets up and hears Tono calling weakly for help. He rushes into her and finds her impaled by a metal spike. As the flames begin to spread, Tono pleads with him, saying that she doesn't want to die engulfed in fire. She begs him to kill her quickly. Ozu insists that it doesn't count as murder, but Sanada disagrees. Sanada says that what he wants now is to know the truth about Futami's death. He's certain that Futami wasn't the suicidal type, which means that someone might have killed him. Sanada leaves the hospital and Ozu begins to wander around the halls. He bumps into a nurse and Amando's brother, who happens to be a doctor. Amando's brother scolds the nurse, but Amando then arrives and then tells him to take it easy on her. His brother replies that he can't. Recently, a large quantity of sleeping pills along with some other medication and tools were stolen. Amando says that he came to check on Ozu but can't stay very long because of other plans. As Amando walks away, Ozu recalls what his brother just said about the sleeping pills, remembering that both the driver and the teacher were asleep during the crash. The thoughts hit him. Could Amano have caused the accident? We then cut to Rika walking towards the hospital when Mitomo suddenly appears, asking if they can talk. They go to a cafe where Mitomo tells him something that the police recently discovered about the bus accident. They found traces of drugs in the driver's system. Rika begins to panic, but Mitomo tells her to calm down. She asks if he thinks one of the survivors could have drugged the driver, and Mitomo says that he doesn't know. But if one of them did, then that person didn't care whether they lived or died, since the accident could have killed them too. After leaving the cafe, Rika heads to the hospital to visit Ozu. Walking through the hall, she experiences flashbacks and panic from her surgery after the crash. She eventually finds Ozu talking on the phone about Futami. She overhears him saying that the sleeping pills were stolen and that he believes Amano might have something to do with it. Rika runs away in shock, leaving behind the flowers that she brought, and Ozu noticing them lying on the ground. We cut to Mitomi in his office saying that everything is going according to plan. All his preparations are complete, and soon enough, it'll all be over. He then calls out to Ami. The next day, Sanada receives a call from Futami's mother, saying that she found his note. Sanada visits her to read it, but he still doesn't believe Futami was the type to take his own life. As he's about to leave, Futami's mother gives him some of Tono's art supplies to drop off at her house. Sanada visits Tomi's home, clearly nervous since he was technically responsible for her death. Her father welcomes him in for tea, but steps away briefly to grab something. During that moment, Sanada goes into Tono's room and then leaves the art supplies there. Her room is filled with rabbit-themed decorations. While looking around, he notices a book with no spine. Curious, he opens it and finds an ultrasound inside. Panicking, he quickly stuffs the book into his bag. When Sanada gets home, he examines the book and realizes it's an exchange diary between Tono and Futami. In one entry from the day before the trip, Tono writes about being sad that Futami wasn't going. She mentioned that she had something important to tell him, a secret that she'd been keeping. She had decided that after the trip, she was going to leave school to take care of their child. Sanada is stunned. Then he finds one more entry dated the date before Futami's death. In it, Futami wrote that he would keep on living his life to the fullest for both of their sakes, proving that he wasn't suicidal. That means that the suicide note must be fake, and even worse, someone might have pushed Futami off the rooftop. The next morning, Sanada goes to pick up Kunikita for school. As they walk, he tells her everything that he's learned, the truth about the suicide note and Futami's relationship with Tono. He also says that Futami's mother mentioned a girl who had been visiting Futami's room since the accident, and that girl was Kunikita. She denies it, but Sanada presses on, accusing her of forging the suicide note so that everyone would believe Futami killed himself. The only reason she would do that, he says, is because she was the one who killed him. Kunikita insists that she would never do such a thing, but Sanada says it's because she loved him. So then, why did she kill him? He demands to know what really happened on the rooftop. We flash back to the day of Futami's death. After Sanada spoke with Futami, Kunikita went up to the roof to see him. She confessed her feelings and asked him out on a date, but Futami turned her down, saying that he already has a girlfriend. Kunikita grew upset and asked why his girlfriend wasn't comforting him if that were true. She said that if she were his girlfriend, he wouldn't look so miserable. Frustrated, Kunikita snatched a rabbit-themed bookmark from Futami's hand. He demanded it back, but she threw it off the rooftop. Futami climbed over the fence and retrieved it, leaning dangerously over the edge. And in a sudden impulse, Kunikita pushed him off, sending him falling to his death. In the present, Kunikita drops to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably, as both she and Sanada cry out for Futami. So now, we technically have all three killers exposed, except there is still the mystery of who drugged the teacher and the driver, which is still pointing towards Amano, but I have two theories that might make a lot of sense. One is that Amano is the killer and Sanada's situation doesn't really count, which is the scenario that is most likely to happen, but I believe that everybody is guilty of something and Mitomo is going to expose all of them for being a sort of killer. But let's see what happens when we dive into the last volume of the series. But before we get to the next part, I just want to say that we now have a Discord server. So if you guys want to talk about your favorite series, get recommendations, and just connect with some like-minded fans of mine, then this is the server for you. We'll soon be hosting live community events like games, live reactions, and live readings only on the Discord server. So if you want to be involved in this, then why not scroll down and join our community. Also, we just opened up a Patreon, so if you guys want early access videos, uncensored videos, and just to support the channel in general, then why not go ahead and check out the Patreon. But back to the video. The final volume begins with Sanada and Kunikata planning on turning themselves into Mitomo before going to the police. They both believe they haven't done anything wrong and hope that the police will understand their situation. On their way to school, Sanada calls Ozu to explain the situation, revealing that Kunikita is the third killer. He explains that Kunikita saw Shima attack him and took the opportunity to use Ozu's phone to ensure that Mitomo would be silenced for good. They both celebrate, believing that everything is finally over. However, the relief doesn't last long. A teacher approaches Sanada and tells him that Mitomo isn't at school today, saying something really important came up. Sanada begins to panic, questioning why Mitomo would play such a long game instead of turning them into the police immediately. He starts to suspect that Mitomo might have a grudge, not just against the killers, but just against all of the survivors from the bus accident. Sanada goes to visit Kunikida and tells her that Mitomo is absent, so they have to turn themselves in tomorrow. But Kunikida mentions that Amano and Rika are also absent. Sanada tries to call them, but instead, he finds a voice message from Rika. In the message, Rika says that she arrived at the park where Amano told her to go, but no one was there. It's the same park where the school held an event last year, and Amano told her that Sanada would be there too. Panicking, Sanada rushes out to the school towards the park, frantically trying to call both Amano and Rika, but neither of them answer. While waiting at a streetlight to cross, he suddenly gets a call from Amano's phone, only to hear Rika's terrified voice begging for help. Sanada tries to get her to speak again, but before he can react, someone suddenly shoves him into oncoming traffic. He narrowly avoids being hit and looks around, but no one is there. He finally reaches the park, where Rika runs up to him in distress, claiming that Amano attacked her. She says Amano came up from behind and covered her mouth, but she managed to turn around and pepper spray him before escaping. Sanada and Rika then head over to Amano's house. When they arrive, Sanada tells Rika to wait outside, and if he doesn't answer, to call the police. Inside, Sanada finds a trail of blood leading upstairs. He follows it into a room and finds someone laying on the floor, bleeding heavily. Before he can react, someone tases him from behind, knocking him out unconscious. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Ozu overhears a conversation between the nurse. They mention that they discovered who really stole the sleeping pills. We then cut back to Sanada waking up in a storage room tied up with an unconscious Amano next to him. Sanada breaks a bottle nearby and then uses the sharp edge to cut through his restraints. Suddenly, the door opens and Rika walks in. Sanada pleads for her to help him and Amano escape, but then Amano starts to regain consciousness. Rika claims that she tried to call him but came in to find him, but Amano suddenly shouts out for Sanada to run, saying that Rika is the one who did this to him. Before Sanada can react, Rika tases him again. As he falls to the ground, she apologizes, saying that next time she'll make sure that he doesn't faint so easily. It's revealed that Rika lied about being attacked by Amano. She was also the one who pushed Sanada into traffic earlier. Sanada weakly asks Rika if she's one of the 3 murderers Mitomo mentioned. Rika snaps back, telling him to drop the act. She knows that it was them who caused the bus accident. According to her, Amano couldn't handle the pressure from his family's expectations, and so he stole the sleeping pills to relieve stress, but it was Sanada who used those pills to drug the driver. Sanada, completely confused, demands to know why she believes that. Rika coldly replies that it's because he enjoys killing people, and then reveals a shocking truth: that Sanada killed his own mother. Wait, what? We see a flashback of Sanada's father getting drunk and furious, blaming him for being the reason his mother isn't alive. In the present, Sanada tries to explain himself, but Amano interrupts, telling him not to waste his time, that Rika is only angry because she can't be an idol anymore. Rika gets enraged, and then she begins to repeatedly tase Amano, shouting that he ruined her life, that both of them did. She then turns to Sanada and demands to know if the 2 of them were responsible for causing the bus accident. Sanada denies it, but this only pushes Rika further. Rika brings in a container of gasoline and then pours it all over the floor. She throws a lighter into the room and says coldly that they should experience what everyone else on the bus did. As the flames spread and Rika locks the door from the outside, Sanada starts to think about how Rika knew about his mother. He had only told his father, Ozu, and Mitomo. Determined to survive, Sanada frees himself from his restraints and tries to carry the unconscious Amano out of the room. As smoke begins to fill the air and the fire just grows stronger, neighbors begin to notice the blaze and gather outside. Among the crowd is Rika, who watches the inferno with a smile. Inside, Amano weakly whispers to Sanada, asking, "It's not true, is it? What she said about you killing your mother?" Sanada replies that it is true. His birth was extremely difficult, and his father had opposed his mother from giving birth. But she did it anyway, and because of that, his mother died, blaming himself for the reason why. As the flames and smoke consume the house, everything fades to black. The next day, Rika watches the news reporting the house fire. The anchors state that there were no known survivors. Smiling, Rika celebrates her victory, until another news report interrupts the broadcast. The report reveals the true culprit behind the theft of the sleeping pills from Amano's hospital, a 35-year-old nurse who worked there. Realizing that she has been deceived, she collapses to the ground, screaming that he tricked me. We then cut to Mitomo at school, preparing to meet with some students. It's here where we learn his backstory. Mitomo's sister, Ami, was killed in the bus accident. However, Ami turned out to be Tono. After discovering that Tono had been pregnant, Mitomo quit his previous job to become a school counselor, hoping to get closer to the survivors. He investigated each of them, uncovering their secrets, and then deliberately placed the blame for the sleeping pills on Amano so he could manipulate Rika. In the present, Mitomo tries to uncover who the father of Tono's unborn child was. Before he can find out, he gets a call from Ozu, who tells him that Sanada and Amano's bodies were found in the burnt house. And since the 1-week deadline is up, Mitomo agrees to tell Ozu everything, including how the bus accident really happened and to meet him at the place where it all began. Ozu meets with Mitomo at the site of the accident. He tells Mitomo that Kunikita still hasn't been able to reach Sanada, then asks if Mitomo had anything to do with the fire. Mitomo denies it, explaining that Rika was the one who killed Sanada and Amano. He reveals that when he mentioned that there were 3 killers, he knew that the 2 real killers would react and that Rika, already unstable, would just break under the pressure. By lining up the facts of the sleeping driver, the missing sleeping pills, he planted those ideas in her head, causing her to spiral and ultimately become the 3rd murderer. Ozu demands to know why Mitomo had a grudge against the survivors. But Mitomo explains that Tono was his little sister, the one person that he truly loved, and she was taken away from him. His hatred wasn't because they were directly responsible for her death, but because that one of the boys stole her from him. Mitomo admits that he wanted to be the one to get Tono pregnant, but someone else took that from him. So, he assumed that one of the survivors was probably the baby daddy. Mitomo then pulls out a rope and tries to strangle him, intending to make it look like a suicide. But Ozu tells him that he can't kill him because he knows who impregnated Tono. Mitomo freezes and demands to know the name. Ozu calmly replies that he'll tell him in prison, revealing that he's been recording their entire conversation. Suddenly, Sanada appears and tells Mitomo that he's already called the police. It turns out that he and Amano found a small vent big enough for both of them to escape through before the firefighters arrived. Mitomo's plan had already completely fallen apart. Tono's father was horrified by the truth, learning that his disowned son had become a counselor and was behind everything. Sanada then gives Mitomo Tono's diary, and upon reading it, Mitomo discovers that Futami was the one who impregnated his sister. Feeling overwhelmed, he collapses to the ground, muttering, "If only I had gone to that school sooner. I could have stopped Futami from jumping. How vexing that I wasn't able to kill him with my own hands." Mitomo is arrested and then taken into custody. As he's escorted to the police station, Rika suddenly appears out of nowhere and stabs him in the back. The series ends with Mitomo's plan succeeding. Rika has now become the 3rd murderer, exactly how he intended. Even though technically, Sanada is already a murderer, but... So, that was Secret, and yeah, it was definitely not as good as Doubt or Judge. I thought it was cool, the fact that they're not in like a closed off area and that there's no real secret bad guy, because it was kind of obvious that Mitomo was planning something pretty big. I just didn't expect it to be incest. Again, like Judge, the Rabbit Mask or the game or even the characters from Doubt didn't have any connection to the series, but at least the Rabbit Mask had a reasoning in Judge, while here it just felt like more of a cameo. I understand the reasoning of like rabbits being played as like innocent prey, but here is seen as like deceptive or guilty in this franchise. But again, I feel like it could have been told a lot better here, like in the last 2 stories. The payoffs for the bus accident and the sleeping pills were also very underwhelming, and Mitomo's whole plan was very odd, especially since it was pretty much solved in like the 2nd volume. It was a pretty disappointing sequel, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that awful. But I want to know, what do you guys think about it? Remember to join the Discord, the Patreon, and the YouTube membership with the links in the description below. If you want more horror videos like this one, then why not scroll down and hit that subscribe button. But I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.